Hi, my name is Shiloh, and my interest throughout the year has been within representations of advertisements, particularly alcohol advertisements as a subject, and how it's projected onto the shebeen, and its use of glamorizing relatable conditions to entice specific audience and portraying as a form of escapism from reality. The beginning of the work looks at the history of colonial and apartheid laws and how it's implied that Black South Africans were incapable of responsible liquor trade and consumption. The manipulation of memory was enacted publicly to assert that Black people worldwide were naturally inferior intellectually and best suited only for physical labor. This hierarchical paradigm references the ideology of scale of nature, stripping them of their dignity and comprehension as responsible adults. However, despite this, drinking for the Black laborer was strategically positioned through decades of advertising as a form of reward and something that consoled workers about their miserable living conditions, and to be used as a form of comfort and escape. Artificial light and the absence of natural light. It is one of the most important stimuli for influencing human perception. Prolific writer on lightness and darkness, Entice, wrote, "Light contributes to an atmosphere that sends one to another time, place, stimulating nostalgia. It's all about enhancing the mood and invoking an emotion and feeling. The darkness within a space of enjoyment is deployed to conceal bodies and acts that may not be acceptable in the sunlight street. Escape within darkness is a creation of timelessness. This project observes darkness within shebeens and the use of light as a stimuli of emotion and the absence of time. This also entails influencing persuasive communication, which involves getting attention, generating interest, creating a desire for change, and encouraging action. The reflective persuasion is looking at advertisements' significant place in our social and cultural life, utilizing social values and personal emotions to easily convince users or consumers to buy or engage with the product or space. Adverts today encourage this by inherited conditions of consumption, looking at the advert of Lion Lager to the glorified and respected shebeen queen, looking at the advert of Castle Lager, the embodiment of the traditional beer amongst Black men, and the advert of Black Label, the sense of reward and gratification from beer.
Yeah, definitely.
Compared to someone you weren't communing with in a space like this?
Yeah, definitely. There's more than two people actually that I can depend on when I'm in danger.
Do you think it's better here to be in danger with someone around here than to be in like a suburb or designated, I don't know, a turn-up space?
Yeah, I think it's better here because here we're more like a family rather than just people who are sharing the same space, doing the same thing.
The media portrays that shebeens and spots of drinking alcohol is associated with violence. Do you think it's a myth or?
It's not true. Yeah.
So it's more like a safe space for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's more like a safe space for a lot of people. Yeah. And hence, in places like this, we get to communicate and interact with each other much better than in the suburbs, because there people are sitting in their own sort of...
Psychologist and researcher Albert Bandura says, there are two main stages of observational learning that need to occur for meaningful learning to take place: attention and the reproduction. The observational learning enticement and persuasion depicts the private space of shebeen spilling over into the public space, which leads to observation being the tool in the act of engagement and can be described as a process of learning by watching others, retaining the information seen, and then later replicating that behavior. The site analysis demonstrates and shows evidence of how suburban or white neighborhoods are full of different forms of escape and leisure in comparison to the absence of these within the township, and who occupies them most between Black and white men. It questions, how does one cross geography to get to these spaces of leisure? And how does one bend geography to bring them closer? The proposition takes the form of an advertisement, addressing the urban spatial conditions advertisements depict that have now become a glamorized inherited condition from the systematic scheme design of the apartheid township and its association with the black man's perception of inferiority. The image dissects the continuing nature of undeserving of leisure in a temporary space, referencing the article Appropriating Modernism, Apartheid in South African Townships by Errol Haroff. It defines the township as a temporary space for black people, that the act of leisure in a white city is not permitted. The analysis illustrates the way the construction worker navigates to the space where he resides. The language of the apartheid spatial planning conditions is used based on the feeling of temporariness coming from the rural hinterlands to find work in the industrial centers of the city center. It's also the space where he reminisces on leisure and escape that he had whilst he was home in the village. The detailed drawing shows how the performance of leisure he only has now due to the lack of space and spatial planning that has been addressed within the township today. Further referencing appropriating modernism, the designing of townships in terms of housing, the minimum standards are set by objective criteria of air, water, sunlight, heat, privacy, and so forth, and further modified by social provisions proved to be necessary, or the nature of children and the education of responsible citizens. Despite this reference to the need for social surveys, the article points out that information of this type relating to the urbanization of black population was either not available or still obtained. This absence accepts its deficiency by appealing to rational methods, with its emphasis on technical solutions. It reveals that the situation of through from apartheid is still happening or prevalent today. A selection of stories of labor force workers dominated by black men within South Africa, being the construction worker, the miner, and the gardener, and the taxi driver, is collected, with this project focusing mainly on the construction worker, becoming a typology study and indicating the different geographical environments the unskilled laborer transitions from without being able to interact with them. His journey becomes an advert script, exposing the stage setup, the environments they're in, what are the costumes being used, the tools, the time it takes place, the props, and what type of setting it's taken in. It helps us ask why certain facilities of escape, leisure, and rest are far away from black townships in comparison to drinking spaces within the township itself. The geography becomes important because it becomes a projection of fantasy that is built in the representational realm of the advertisement. It reveals weaponization against the social practices of shebeens and drinking spaces throughout the township, through advertising as a tool in the mirroring and mimicking of reality of the black man's geography, an attempt to entice and persuade, building a relationship between imagery and architecture, depicting how reality takes the form of the advert and the advert takes the form of reality, by recreating reality so people see themselves within them.
You have come from far. You have traveled long distances. You have left the safety of your homes and the gentle touch of Mother Nature's escape. You have left it for a better life. Left it because now you can, rooted in history and evolving with luxury, we progress in developing our town for you, our people. You work hard, day in, day out, toil yourself to the last bit of energy you have. You deserve an escape for real men, an escape that immerses you in your fantasy, a slice of time, a piece of time, a break, an escape, that need you want, that place you dream of. It's paradise, it's romance. Forget what you left behind, live in the now, all desires. This is time for your life. This is Township Fantasy Pools, coming soon to you.
Not obliged to provide in any due time, all initiatives are imaginary and unrealistic in such conditions of overcrowding and stagnancy and change. But dreams can be sold and situations be distorted, in adding the beneficiary and keeping inferiority.